Hello everyone. So now let's talk about the last video of the introduction module, the roles, organization types and leadership. So this is your last video for the introduction and basically what we covered in this entire introduction videos were your first three chapters from PMBOK. I gave you a brief overview of all the important topics which are important from your first three chapters. Once we are done with this, the next we will move to the real PMP. When I call it like the real PMP, I'm talking about your the knowledge areas, which is your first one is your integration management knowledge area. But prior to doing that, let's see what do we have in this. So first we have the roles on a project. We have different roles, like for example the project manager. The most important role I would say is about the project manager, who is making sure that work is done as planned, and he or she is somebody who takes the project from the beginning till the very end, the closing the project. Then we have coordinator and expediter. I will describe that in the following slide. Then we have the senior management. So you can call senior management somebody from your senior project manager or your program managers, and those are the people, those who are your senior management. Then we have the functional manager. So functional manager is somebody who will give you the resources. Like for example, let's say you work for the PMO and you need some developers, right? You need some developers on the project. So you might go to the dev team and get those developers. So that dev team manager would be your functional manager. Similarly, let's say you want some, testers. You might go to the quality team and get some testers. So your quality team manager would be your functional manager. Then we have a stakeholder. Stakeholder mean somebody who has directly or indirect impact on a project. So somebody who has direct or indirect impact on a project, that's a stakeholder. Somebody who will be or is being impacted by a project, that's a stakeholder. Then sponsor is someone who will be paying for the project, somebody but at almost like at a very senior level, you can say. Then we will also discuss about the project management office. We'll discuss that in this video in some time. Then of course we have the program manager. So somebody who is not just managing a project, but is somebody who is managing at a program level. We have already seen the difference between the project, program, portfolio and operations. So first let's see what is the difference between a coordinator and an expediter. And so the project expediter has the least power of the three. First of all, when I'm talking about the three, I'm talking about the PM, the coordinator and the expediter. Basically ensuring tasks happen on time, reporting back to the superior. So expediter is someone who is reporting to the superior and making sure that the team did what was asked. Role of project manager in a weak matrix organization is more of a coordinator or an expediter. We will discuss the weak matrix sometime later, but think of a role of a project manager is more of the coordination or an expediter, more like an expediter in that particular type of organization. Project expediter works as a staff assistant and like the communication coordinator. So expediter is more like a staff assistant. Like I would request them to make sure that, can you make sure that my meetings are as per the plans. Can you make sure that can you get me the pizza for the pizza party, what we have planned, things like that. I would expect a coordinator an expediter to do that for us. The expediter cannot personally make or enforce the decision. So expediter does not have that power to enforce any decision. Project coordinator have power to make some decisions but have some authority and report to a higher level manager. So you can say that more than the expediter, a coordinator has little more power than the expediter. Like they will have some more power and they can take few decisions. But most importantly, they might have to go back to your senior manager or like a project manager to help them take the decisions. Like for example, sometime I asked my coordinator to accompany me to write the meeting notes from the meeting. So those are some of the things which I take the help of coordinator. So at the bottom level, we have the expediter, then we have the coordinator, and then we have the project manager. So let's see what PMO is. The department that standardize the project related processes, make sure the right resources are assigned, and the project team has right tools and techniques in order to complete the project. So again, not all organizations have the PMO, and there are different types of PMOs as well. But basically, the purpose of PMO is to make sure that they give you the right resources, they give you the right tools to make sure that you successfully complete the project. That's the real purpose of PMO. There are three types of PMOs. First, we have the supportive PMO, where project repository which provides templates, training, lessons learned, etc. Control of this PMO is low. So this type of PMO, it's more basically used just for the templates, just for some kind of trainings or lessons learned and things like that. Really, the power on the PMO side is low, and if you need something, you'll probably take the help. You can take some trainings and templates and things like that. Then on the second side, we have the controlling, which is PMO that concentrates on compliance. Compliance to use specific project and governance framework or methodologies. Compliance to use specific templates, tools, etc. So control of this PMO is moderate. So now we are dealing with the PMO which is little more controlling, and the power is little more moderate as compared to supportive. And basically they are more working towards the compliance. Like for example, if you're using some kind of templates, then that template must be compliant as per the organization standard. And then we have the directive. Project managers are assigned by the PMO and they will manage the project. Control of this PMO is high as project managers directly report to the PMO. So let's say I am a I am a project manager. I will report to the PMO director, and my assignment would be done by my director. So PMO, like in this case, PMO has very high power. They are the ones, those who will decide that whether this whether you should do this project or not, or whether this resource should do this project or not. So all of this is directive. Let's discuss the different types of organization. So the type of project delivery organization will have an impact on the way the project is managed and its success. So there are different types of organizations. After discussing each one of them, I want you to understand and think that what type of organization structure you work for. So first we have the organic or simple. It's a very small organization fall in this category where everything is done by everybody. Like I would say, probably even the owner of the company will take all the decisions, and you have very few people and everybody has to do all the work because since the number of people are very small. That is your organic or simple. Then you have the functional organization, an organization in which the project team members work for a functional department. In the functional organization, the functional manager has the most power. The project manager, if the role exists, is typically only part-time and has little organizational authority. So functional managers is basically very much dependent on the functional managers. In the functional organization, you will have your entire organization will be based upon functional departments, and whatever work, if it is required to be done, it will be taken care by the functional manager. Most of the time you won't see the role project manager, but if you will see, they would have very little authority. For each and everything, they might have to get an approval from the project manager. That's your functional organization. Then we have multi-divisional. So multiple divisions at multiple locations which may replicate the work across the divisions. Little centralization as compared to functional. So functional is very centralized. Opposite of functional is the multi-divisional, which is which has multiple divisions, and it's all around the world. And whatever work you are doing at your particular division, the same person, not the same person, some different person may might do the same thing at some other location. That's your multi-divisional. It's not centralized at all. Then we have virtual organization. Employees or even enterprises are working as separate entities to achieve the common objective of the project. This type of organization is highly dependent upon information technology to support their group, support their work. Like for example, I would say that virtual is more like we have a team, and your team members and the organizations are located all across the world, and each of them is more like an organization in itself. Like for example, you have your factories in Korea, and you're making sure that all the work is being done from South Korea. Then in some different countries you have the sales representative. In a different country you have the advertising agency. Then you have some research firm which is in some different group. All of these are virtually located, and you can say that all of these are organization in itself. That's your virtual organization. And basically the common objective is to make sure that they successfully complete the project on time. That's everybody's goal. So then we have the matrix organization, an organization in which human resources have both functional as well as the project manager. This is the most common organization type, I would say. Departments will exist, like the functional departments will exist, allowing functional managers to manage the people in them. So the people would actually report to the functional managers. The project managers, they must just they most probably will borrow the resources, use those resources, and when the work is done, they will return it and they will go back to their functional teams. So it is divided into three, which is matrix strong, matrix balanced, and matrix weak. So when I say matrix strong, I would say you will have both the project manager as well as the functional manager. But the real power would remain in the hand of project manager. They would be the one who will take all the decisions. Opposite of matrix is actually the weak matrix. You will have both functional managers as well as the project managers. But in this case, functional managers will have more power. You can say the project coordinator and expediter, they are somebody who actually fall under the weak matrix. So if the role of PM is more like a coordinator and expediter, most probably you are in the weak matrix. And then we have the most common, which is like the balance. Both project manager and FM are used, and the power is 50-50 between them. That's your balance matrix. Then we also have the project oriented, or you can also call it as the composite or hybrid organization. In this organization, which is strictly structured by projects, so you don't have any functional department, you only deal with projects. In a project oriented organization, the project manager has the responsibility for the people and the project. While it gives the PM complete control, it risks overburdening the PM with human resource responsibility. So think of this organization as that you don't have any functional department. What you have is 5 projects which you need to make sure you complete it on time. Now, the only problem in this is, like for example, in functional organization or matrix organization, if I am a PM, I may go to the functional manager and I may borrow the resources from them. And even if I have to recruit and things like that, but in this, I cannot borrow. If they will report to your project. And if you need to hire, you might have to go out and hire it yourself. You don't have any specific departments which can help you to do that. That's your project oriented, composite or hybrid. I remember for composite organization, sometimes what an organization does is they have a certain organization type, they follow certain practices, but sometimes the projects are so important that they will assign a specific team just to do your project. When they're assigning a specific team which will follow their own rules and structures, that is more like a composite organization. Then we have the hybrid, which is like mixture of any of the organization types we have discussed. And PMO, we have already discussed the supportive, controlling, and all those PMOs we discussed. So let's see the project manager competencies. We have technical project managers, we have leadership, we have strategic and business development. So if you see, this is actually the PMI talent triangle, where it shows that how technical project management, how leadership, how strategic and business management are the three legs of the triangle. So if you see technical project management, the knowledge, skills and behavior that is specific to one particular domain. Like for example, let's say I'm a technical project manager. I'm very good in languages. Languages, when I'm talking about languages, I'm talking about Java, C Sharp, .NET and all those things. So if I'm a manager from that, that is more like a technical project management. Then leadership, the knowledge, skills and behaviors that are required to motivate the team, to lead the team, to make sure that organization achieve the business objectives. So leadership is at a top level. They are not worried about the projects, but they are worried about the overall objectives of the organization. They are the ones those who will motivate you. They are the ones who will make sure that they establish a vision. They will lead the team. They will make sure that you are motivated enough to do your job well. That's your leadership. Then we have strategic and business management, implementing the decisions that support the strategic alignment and innovation for the organization. This helps to enhance the performance with better delivery of business outcomes. So this is more towards the strategy, more towards the organization strategy and making sure that you are aligned towards it. So strategic and business management, you are actually implementing those decisions to support the strategic decisions. Let's discuss the forms of power. So there are many forms of power, and they are also actually, I've covered these forms of power in the resource management knowledge area also. Over here, you will see very much, I would say in much more detail. In that particular section, it's not that detailed, but I have just given an overview of few of the important ones. So first we have the positional, which is also known as formal, authoritative or legitimate. You are the boss. So on paper, you are the one who is the boss. That's your positional. Then we have informational, somebody who has control on gathering and distributing the information. So somebody who is just making sure that they gather the information and they distribute it proactively. That is something there, you are more like a informational power they use. Then we have referent, respect for you because you have gained that credibility. Like for example, if I'm doing a great job and a lot of people respect me for what I'm doing, that's referent. Referent was also sometimes referred to as the relational, which is like based on whom you are associated with. Like for example, if I know, let's say the VP, you need to understand, you need to listen to me because I know the VP of the company, right? So that is now, it's more like a relational, but referent and relational are like very much related with each other. Sometimes you have a you have a great charismatic, you have a great personality. That is also you use that kind of power, which is your personal or charismatic. So all of these two, the personal and charismatic, actually were part of your referent. Then situational, power due to unique situation. I would say, like for example, assume that one of the manager left the organization and Miss X was promoted because of that, or Mr. Y was promoted because of that. So it was highly situational. I'm not saying that Miss X or Mr. Y did not deserve it, but I'm saying just because it was situational, they got promoted. Then sometimes we use expert power, that you know more than anyone else. That's why you are called an expert. Then sometimes it's reward oriented, and also the coercive, which is the punitive, which is you have the ability to promote, give a raise, or money, praises, all those things. That's reward oriented. Similarly, opposite of that is ability to fire, demote, or generally punish. That's your punitive or coercive. If you can give reward, most probably you can punish also. Then we still have a few more powers. We have the ingratiating, which is you're praising others to win a favor. That is ingratiating power. Like for example, let's assume I go to my senior management and I talk some good things about them just to make sure that I get my work done. If I'm using this kind of power, this means I'm using this means I'm using ingratiating power. Then we have the pressure-based power also. Pressure-based power is actually, somebody is putting pressure to limit the choices. Like for example, I can say that, my sales director is pushing me to make sure that I get the work done. That is like pressure-based. So you do the work based upon the pressure. Then you also have guilt-based power, which is like power due to obligation or sense of duty. This is my sense of duty. I have to do this work. I'm obligated to do this work. That's guilt-based power you use. Then you have persuasive power, which is power to provide arguments which eventually motivate people to the desired next steps. So you can say that argument is a negative word, but not necessary. Persuasive, I'm very persuasive. I will give you some good feedback. I'll give you some good thought process so that you can work accordingly. That's if I'm using this kind of power. This means I'm using persuasive power. And finally, we have the avoiding, which is I'm not participating in this discussion. If I'm doing things like that, that is I'm avoiding power. I'm using avoiding power. So all of these which we already discussed. Okay, then we need to understand the difference between leadership and management. So leadership and management are two different things. Like management is more like you're using the legitimate, the positional power. But leadership is more like you're influencing, you are collaborating with others. You're using that relational power. All those things are at leadership level. Management, you are more towards maintaining. Leadership, you are developing the team, you are innovating. So for leadership, you are actually you are providing a vision. Like for example, you will do the right thing at a leadership level. You have to do the right thing because people look up to you. On the management level, you need to make sure you do the things in a right way. So it's little different. Management is more focused on the operational issues, but leadership is more focused on the vision, on the alignment, on the motivation and inspiration. That's why you see that a lot of leaders are highly inspirational speakers. You get to learn from a lot. When you listen to them, you work even harder to get the work done. You are motivated to do that. Be that kind of leader where people trust you. Okay, let's see what are the different types of leadership styles. So first we have the laissez-faire, which is popularly known as hands-off style, where the leader allows the team member to make their own decisions and even establish their own goals. Like for example, I will let my team and I'll say that, you know what guys, go ahead. This is your floor. You need to take full charge. If I'm doing things like that, this means I'm using the laissez-faire leadership style. Transactional, the leader will focus on your goals, will provide regular feedback and provide rewards on your accomplishment. So this is more like a transactional, which is once the goals are established, I will give you regular feedback. I'll make sure that you are on the right track. If you need any help, I will be more than happy to help you out in that. And if you do a good job, I'll probably provide you with rewards as well, right? Then we have the servant leader, which is a leader who will focus on relationships, who will put people first and will be very much interested in people's growth and learning. Like, be a servant leader. Always put your people first. If you start putting your people first, people will, in turn, help you to grow as well. Your growth is dependent upon your people's growth. So, a servant leader will be focused on your growth, on your learning. Try to learn as much as possible. Then we have the transformational, which is a leader who will encourage the team for innovation and creativity. Be the change you want to be, right? Always. So it always starts from the beginning. You have to be a transformational. You have to grow. Like if you need to grow, you have to change. You have to innovate good things. You have to establish creativity. Then we have charismatic, which is a leader who is highly enthusiastic, who based upon his strong convictions will inspire the team. I have a good conviction, I won't do the wrong thing. I would be always ethical. That's charismatic leader. And then we have interactional, which is hybrid of transactional, transformational, and charismatic. So it's like a combination of these: transactional, transformational, and charismatic. So let's do a quick revision. Focus on the forms of power. There were many forms of power, so all of those powers are actually discussed in this particular video. There are few, the same are actually repeated in the resource management also. Focus on 49 processes, 10 knowledge areas, and 5 process groups. Remember this number: 49, 10, 5. Focus on organization types and leadership styles. What are the different types of leadership styles and also the different types of organizations? And the last but not the least, make sure you are practicing many questions in this area. Okay, so this marks the completion of our last video of introduction section, which was talking about very important concepts like the organization type, the leadership styles, the talent triangle. So it was pretty very important. The forms of power, that was another important concept. The different types of role. So you may get a lot of questions from this. So I would say out of the introduction, this was one of the most important one. Next, once you watch the video, your next job is to make sure that you read the PMBOK. Once you read the PMBOK, your third task should be to go to the website. You know the website, which is www.eduhubspot.com, or download our Android or Apple app and start practicing the questions. Start doing, first of all, the introduction section questions, and then once you are done with the question, then move to the integration management videos. Again, follow the path. If you need any kind of help specifically for your application, you can definitely reach out to me. You have my email address, which is varun.anand@eduhubspot.com. Let me repeat, it's VARUN, my first name, .ANAND, Anand@eduhubspot.com. The only reason I'm giving you my personal email address is if just in case you want to reach out to me directly. And of course we have our journal email address also, the services@eduhubspot.com. You can reach out there as well. Somebody from the support team will reply, and if required, I would be involved in those things. Remember, subscribe to our question of the day. You can do that on the website. So on your email, you will get a daily question from our side. You can practice and try to be a part of our social groups like, on the Facebook and LinkedIn. A lot of students like you will become part of it. They will actually post questions, they will practice questions, and sometimes if they need be, they will tag me to those posts, and I will discuss those questions. I'll probably record another video. I'll post that video just to make sure that you are getting all the concepts you need, what you have. Remember, stay focused and stay hungry. There is lots and lots of information which is more, which we will be discussing. Thank you.